Hallelujah. Shalom, family and friends. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Let's talk about the divine marriage, the eternal covenant. The covenant between Yah and Israel is a marriage covenant. To understand the cosmology of the ancient Israelites, we have to understand the concept that Yahuwah the Father, who is referred to as the Father, the God of gods, the King above all gods, the only true God, the invisible God, is above all other beings, above all other powers. But you have what are called the sons of God, the sons of Elohim, the sons of heaven, or the messengers or angels. And we understand that at certain points of time, some of these sons of God, some of these angels, rebelled against the Father. And when nations were formed upon the earth, the descendants of Adam, the descendants of Noah, split it into separate nations. Many of these nations made covenants with these mighty ones, with these messengers, with these divine beings. So we have references to a particular mighty one who's the god of the Canaanites, or a particular mighty one who's the god of the Egyptians. So we have the sons of Adam, sons of the earth, the nations. Shemot, Exodus chapter 23. Beware of him, and obey his voice, provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Speaking about this particular mighty one, this particular angel, the messenger Yahuwah, who made a covenant with the nation of Yasharal. And because this particular angel, this particular being, is above all other angelic beings, Yasharal became a nation above all other nations. Yuchanan chapter 5 again. I am come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. So when we go to Ayub or Job chapter 1, now there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahuwah, and Shaitan came also among them. And Yahuwah said unto Shaitan, Whence come you? And Shaitan answered Yahuwah, and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So we see that Shaitan, being one of the Malakim, being one of the angels, is a messenger. The Father is not a messenger. The Father does not go to and fro. He does not go up and down. Yahuwah, the Father, sits upon his throne in Shemaim, in the heavens. It's the messengers that travel up and down, go to and fro. So the being that was speaking to our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to Musha, was a messenger, was an angel. And this particular angel had the name Yahuwah. Shemot, or Exodus chapter 19. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and a set-apart nation. These are the words which you shall speak unto the children of Yasharal. So this particular being set apart among the Malakim, given the name of Yahuwah, made a covenant with the nation of Yasharal. Because this being is set apart from all other messengers, Yasharal as a nation is set apart from all other nations. And we will see, because this particular being, this messenger Yahuwah, is the high priest in the Shemaim, is the high priest in the heavens. The nation of Yasharal is a nation of kings and priests. So let's go to the Ketubah, or the marriage covenant. Shemot, or Exodus chapter 24. And Moshe came and told the people all the words of Yahuwah, and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahuwah has said will we do. As we talked about in the video Hebrew marriage customs, that the bridegroom would approach the woman, the bride-to-be, and give her a ketubah with all his rules and expectations written thereupon. And she would read it. Either she could agree to the covenant or she could refuse the covenant. If she agrees to the marriage covenant, to the ketubah, from that point on they are considered betrothed. Verse 4, And Moshe wrote all the words of Yahuwah, and rose up early in the morning, and built an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars, according to the 12 tribes of Yasharal. So that word wrote is from the Hebrew katab, which means to write, record, and roll. And that's where we get the term ketubah. Ketubah comes from the term katab, which means to write. So we see that after our fathers, the nation of Yasharal, agreed to the terms and conditions of Yahuwah, a ketubah, or a covenant, a marriage covenant, was written. Verse 7, And he took the book of the covenant and read it in the audience of the people. And they said, All that Yahuwah has said will we do, and be obedient. So again, the marriage covenant, the bridegroom presents his ketubah, his marriage covenant, to the woman, to the bride-to-be, and she can accept it or refuse it. And our fathers, the nation of Israel, accepted the ketubah, the marriage covenant. And Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, Behold, the blood of the covenant which Yahuwah has made with you concerning these words. So when the bride-to-be reads through the ketubah and she accepts the terms of the ketubah, the bridegroom presents her with a cup of wine. And if she accepts the ketubah, she drinks that cup of wine, signifying that she accepts all the terms and conditions of the marriage covenant. So that word covenant comes from the Hebrew barit, which means covenant, alliance, pledge. After the bride agrees to the marriage covenant, she agrees to the ketubah, the bridegroom and the bride are considered from that point on betrothed. Ezekiel chapter 16. And say, Thus says Adonai Yahuwah unto Jerusalem, Your birth and your nativity is of the land of Canaan. Your father was an Amorite, and your mother a Hittite. Verse 8, Now when I passed by you and looked upon you, behold, your time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over you, and covered your nakedness. Yes, I swore unto you, and entered into a covenant with you, says Adonai Yahuwah, and you became mine. So we see that the covenant between Yah and the nation of Yasharal is a marriage covenant. We see that the nation of Yasharal is considered the wife of Yah. Chapter 23. The word of Yahuwah came again unto me, saying, And the names of them were Aholah the elder, and Aholibah her sister, and they were mine, and they bare sons and daughters. Thus were their names. Samaria is Aholah, and Jerusalem Aholibah. So this is speaking after the division of the nation of Yasharal into two houses, the house of Yasharal and the house of Yehuda. Yahuwah, through the prophet Ezekiel, describes them as two sisters, and he describes himself as being married to these two sisters. So again, the covenant between Yah and the nation of Yasharal is a marriage covenant. We saw that according to Hebrew marriage customs, that the man pays a bride price for the woman he is betrothed to. Shemot, or Exodus chapter 15. Fear and dread shall fall upon them. By the greatness of your arm they shall be as still as a stone, till your people pass over, O Yahuwah, till the people pass over, which you have purchased. Yeshayahu, or Isaiah chapter 43. For I am Yahuwah, your Alim, the set apart one of Yasharal, your Savior. I gave Egypt for your ransom, Ethiopia and Seba for you. So we see that Yah gave a bride price for the nation of Yasharal. The marriage feast. Shemot, or Exodus chapter 24. Then went up Moshe and Aharon and Nadab and Abihu and 70 of the elders of Yasharal, and he saw the Alim of Yasharal, and there was under his feet as it were a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven in his clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Yasharal he laid not his hand. Also they saw Alim, and did eat and drink. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, Come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give you tables of stone, and a Torah, and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them. So we see that after the children of Yasharal agreed to the covenant, that Moshe and the representatives of Yasharal went up to the mountain, and he saw this being. Who did they see? Were they looking at Yahuwah the Father? Of course not. No man can look at the Father and live. They were looking at the messenger. And they ate and drank with him to celebrate the marriage, to celebrate the acceptance of the ketubah. Acts chapter 7. And this is he that was in the assembly in the wilderness with the angel, which spake unto him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us. So we see that that term church, meaning assembly, refers to the nation of Yasharal. And it says that they were with the angel, with the messenger, who spoke with him at Mount Sinai and with our fathers. So this being that's called the Alua, or the Alim of Yasharal, is this being, this angel, this messenger of Yahuwah. So we see that this being, this messenger Yahuwah, Al Shaddai, this is the being that made the covenant with the nation of Yasharal. Yeshayahu, or Isaiah chapter 54. For your maker is your husband, Yahuwah Zabaoth is his name, and your redeemer, the set apart one of Yasharal. The Alim of the whole earth shall he be called. So that covenant that was made between the messenger Yahuwah and the nation of Yasharal is a marriage covenant. We saw that after the betrothal, that the bridegroom makes a marriage chamber for his wife, a room for his wife to dwell in. Jeremiah chapter 2. Hear you the word of Yahuwah, O house of Jacob, and all the families of the house of Yasharal. And I brought you into a plentiful country, to eat the fruit thereof and the goodness thereof. But when you entered, you defiled my land, and made my heritage an abomination. So we understand that the land of Canaan, the land of the promise, is the land of Yahuwah. And he brought the nation of Yasharal into his land, as a bridegroom brings his bride into his house and provides a marriage chamber for her. Consummation. Shemotah, Exodus chapter 29. And there I will meet with the children of Yasharal, and the tabernacle shall be sanctified by my esteem. And I will sanctify the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar. I will sanctify also both Aharon and his sons to minister to me in the priest's office. And I will dwell among the children of Yasharal, and will be their Alaim. But Midbar, Numbers chapter 35. Defile not therefore the land which you shall inhabit, wherein I dwell, for I, Yahuwah, dwell among the children of Yasharal. So we see that Yah dwelt among our fathers. He dwelt, and he desires to dwell among us. First Kings chapter 6. And the word of Yahuwah came to Shalom, saying, Concerning this house which you are in building, if you will walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then will I perform my word with you which I spoke unto Dawood your father. And I will dwell among the children of Yasharal, and will not forsake my people Yasharal. Chapter 8. Now we see that after Shalom or Solomon finished the Hikal or the temple, that there was another marriage feast. Again, we talked about that the marriage feast was usually associated with Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles. The marriage feast lasted 7 days. So thus look. Then Shalom assembled the elders of Yasharal, and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Yasharal, unto King Shalom in Jerusalem, that they might bring up the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah out of the city of Dawood, which is Zion. And all the men of Yasharal assembled themselves unto King Shalom at the feast in the month Ethanim, which is the 7th month. So what feast is in the 7th month? Verse 9. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tablets of stone which Moshe put there at Horeb, when Yahuwah made a covenant with the children of Yasharal when they came out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass, when the priests were come out of the set-apart place, that the cloud filled the house of Yahuwah, so that the priests could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the esteem of Yahuwah had filled the house of Yahuwah. 21. And I have set there a place for the ark, wherein is the covenant of Yahuwah, which he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. So we see that when these elements were brought into the temple, that the presence of Yahuwah came down with such weight and power that the priests were not able to minister. Second Chronicles chapter 7. Now when Shalom had made end of praying, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the esteem of Yahuwah filled the house. And the priests could not enter into the house of Yahuwah, because the esteem of Yahuwah had filled Yahuwah's house. And when all the children of Yasharal saw how the fire came down, and the esteem of Yahuwah upon the house, they bowed themselves with their faces to the ground upon the pavement, and worshipped and praised Yahuwah, saying, For he is good, for his mercy endures forever. So we see at this marriage feast, at the Feast of Sukkot, these manifestations of the presence of Yahuwah. 1 Kings chapter 8. And at that time Shalom held a feast, and all Yisrael with him, a great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, before Yahuwah our Elohim, 7 days and 7 days, even 14 days. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went unto their tents joyful and glad of heart for all the goodness that Yahuwah had done for Daud his servant, and for Yisrael his people. So again, this was done during the Feast of Tabernacles. Second Chronicles chapter 7. Also at the same time Shalom kept the feast 7 days, and all Yisrael with him, a very great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt. And in the 8th day they made a solemn assembly, for they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days, and the feast 7 days. So we see that they dedicated the altar 7 days, and then they celebrated the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days. And on the 23rd day of the 7th month he sent the people away into their tents, glad and merry in heart, for the goodness that Yahuwah had showed unto Daud, and to Shalom, and to Yisrael his people. For now have I chosen and sanctified this house, that my name may be there forever, and my eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually. So we see that the covenant made between Yah and the nation of Yisrael is a marriage covenant. And we saw that the being that was dealing with our fathers, with Abraham and Jacob, the being that was dealing with Moshe, was not Yahuwah the Father, because no man can see the Father and live. The one that they were talking to was his representative, his messenger, called El Shaddai, called the angel of Yahuwah, called the messenger Yahuwah. And this is important going forward when we come in with the ministry of Yahushua HaMashiach and the things that he did. So if we don't understand these concepts, it will be difficult to understand what exactly was the ministry of Yahushua HaMashiach. Father Yah, we ask that you open our eyes so that we can understand your Torah, understand your ways. We ask that you help us to endure to the end and obtain your salvation. To you be all esteem and honor forever and ever. Fear Elohim and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Bind up the testimony, seal the Torah among my disciples. Shalom, family. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. Like, comment, and share.